And people are still coming in with like verbal lowball. They won't even write the offer. They're just like lowballing it verbally.
That's not good, is it?
And we've seen this, so it's a trend. So like if anyone wants to argue, like the trend is down, sales are down, prices are down, inventory is probably up. Actually, inventory I think was down, but the sales are down even further. There's no disputing how the market's going at this point. Even Calgary.
Is the housing market crash going to continue in 2026? I've got my buddy with me, John Flynn, to shoot the shit and talk about what is going on. So John, what is going on in the housing market? Is it about to boom?
Well, I'm up here in Arctic Mexico right now, and it's freezing, man. Nothing's happening up here right now. But I heard, according to some of my competitors there that have a few more employees than me, that, it's going to boom next year. Something's going to happen. Sales are going to increase, and I don't know. It's looking pretty positive by the sounds of it. I don't think so. I think we're in for an ice age up here. But some people seem to think sales are going to pick up and the market's going to be off to the races again.
Yeah, I was looking at the Remax forecast that came out, and it was absolutely hilarious because it was saying like, oh, most of the market sales are down, new listings are up, but we're predicting like sales are going to rise even though they're at decade lows. So is it that they're just seeing something that we're not, or is it just that they're paid economists like you've said before, and this is what they're paid to come out with every year and try and drum up some FOMO?
I honestly don't know where they got their data. I looked through that report, and I'm waiting for the next report also from our other buddy there, Phil Soper. But at least the Remax guy, I'll give him credit. He is the licensed realtor, the president. So it's good to see he's like in the business and he's got a license and he's working. But I did look through the report, and there's not a lot in here that I can go off of. There was some claims, though, that 10% of Canadians plan to buy a home in the next 12 months.
Saw that.
And half of them are first-time buyers. So 10% of Canadians. This is not 10% of the people polled here. This is a pretty bold claim here. So we have 4 million now Canadians are going to buy a home in the next 12 months, according to this report.
What?
Seems like a lot.
Let me give you some stats here. So there was an average of the last 15, 20 years. There's been 490,000 sales per year, MLS sales per year in Canada. So we're going to have almost 10 times that. Anyway, now this outlook, it's an outlook now. It's not a forecast, actually. That's the legal terms here at the fine print at the bottom. The outlook was based off of a survey of 1,530 something people. So 1,500 people answered this survey. So maybe 10% of those people are looking to buy a house, but it says 10% of Canadians in one of the highlights. So yeah, I think this is more of an opinion, and we both have opinions, and sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. But this is more of an opinion piece than it is a ground down data driven survey here. This is, it's just a random survey of people. I don't know who the people were. 17% of Canadians are concerned about return to office mandates. I'd say that's probably pretty true. Anyway, so I don't see this forecast really. It's kind of a general forecast, but I think it's the way they presented it, and the media might have presented it, that was the error in my opinion, because 3.4% increase in sales, that's not a big deal, right?
No.
We had low sales this year. We're on track to do around 460,000 sales, and the long-term average is 490,000. 2024 was 484,000 sales, and I think 2023 was 481 or something. So to say that we're going to have a 3 or 4 or 5% increase in sales is not outrageous. But I think what they didn't focus on, and what they should have focused on, and what I always talk about, is the inventory, right? It's how's that inventory going to look? And they don't talk about inventory. So inventory is going to continue to increase. But one thing they did put in here was their price outlook is almost down 4%. Prices are going to drop 3.7% as per this outlook. So, but again, when you look at the media and the reports, all the focus is on the sales picking up, not the prices going down, which is typical. And I don't know, I don't understand how the media always focuses on the positive when it comes to these real estate outlooks and forecasts, but everything else is negative. Like it's,
I know.
I don't know how
don't
they
get
pick and
it.
choose what. Yeah. So, and as we know, pessimism and negativity sells a lot more than positivity. So it's just really odd. I don't know if they're part of the same ETF funds or something like, but yeah,
Maybe.
they're out to lunch. I forecast, forget about sales, because you have to look at the sales to new listings ratio or the sales to active listing ratio, whatever you want to do. That is going to probably still decrease. Even if it stays the same, it's very suppressed sales. Prices will continue to decline. And these guys agree that prices will decline. CREA's forecast said that prices will increase. I think it was 3 or 4% next year, but they've always been off on their forecasts too, because they're optimistic when on their outlooks. They said in 2025 prices were going to increase by 6.6% or something like that, and prices have declined. We'll see at the end of the year overall, but they have declined for most of the year. For the data, I think up till October, we don't have November data yet. So for 10 months of the year, 6 of those 10 months, prices have declined, and the declines have been a lot bigger than the increases. The increases was like, the biggest increase was like 1.5% or something, and the biggest decline was like 3.4. So we've seen a lot bigger declines, and 6 out of 10 months declines also.
Wow. So yeah, the market is getting worse then. So what about like buyers and sellers? So if you're selling a home, I know you've said about it before on like the previous interviews that we've done and talks that we've had, like, is the best advice now still for sellers to sell in the current market instead of trying to hold off and wait for a better price, especially if they're in like Ontario, for instance, where there's a lot of price declines in markets?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I wish it was just an easy answer, because the mindset for a lot of sellers are they need to get so much money. And right now, I would say immediately no, because of seasonality. Right now we're in December and January. Like if I was to say like just sell while you still can, like you're going to get beat up even more in the season right now. So I would say wait until, like I've canceled all my listings beginning of the month now. They're all going to expire or getting canceled. I'm not going to deal with them. Like sellers want the most amount of money, unless you're willing to give your property away for a lot less than you could get for it maybe 2 months ago or in 3 months from now. And I'm guessing, I'm just going to forecast, like I don't think it's hard for prices to go down in the spring, right? Because you have that seasonality, buyers are coming back out. You have a lot more buyers coming out before the listings hit the market. This spring could be different because last spring wasn't that great. But I would expect that if you need to sell, and if you don't wait, don't think that the spring you're going to get 10% more than it's worth right now. You need to sell it when you can. Of course, right now, December, January, the slowest months, lowest prices. Like obviously, I'm not advising anyone to sell now unless you're desperate and the bank's literally going to take your property, which you could be at that point, and there are people at that point. But otherwise, yeah, wait until the spring. This is not a false promise though of like prices are going to skyrocket in the spring. It's just a better market. There's more buyers, and you probably will get more money than you're going to get right now. But yeah, get rid of it. If you got a property to sell, get rid of it early in the year. February is usually good, again, because that sales to new listings ratio, you have a lot of buyers coming out and a lot of listings aren't up yet. So because a lot of people still wait for the spring. They say, I'm going to wait until March and April until the sun's out and the grass starts growing.
Yeah.
And it's too late, because that's when all the other listings are coming out. So if you want to capitalize on the seasonality, but yeah, again, get rid of it, because it's not looking good for the housing market. Again, inventory every year, we're seeing higher lows in the inventory, and the low points of the years are higher, and higher highs too. So that inventory keeps making new highs. Again, seasonality affects this. So you can't look at individual months and say inventory's down or there's less new listings, because right now, November, you're going to hear that. There's less new listings, and that sales to new listings ratio is going to increase, meaning it's going to become more of a balanced market. But that's the seasonal thing. So you got to look at the big picture.
Yeah. And what about for buyers then? Because you said about like December, January. I know December is like for buying a house. Like there's less inventory on the market, but you can probably get a deal if you can find one, because people are desperate, I'm guessing, at this time of year if they're listing their house, especially in December.
Yeah. So if your house is on the market in December, like you're either it's just your agent just left it like that, or you need to sell it. So yeah, buyers, there's good opportunities right now. Not the best opportunities in the market, mind you. This is not like my home buying recipe, like has all come together and now is the time to buy. We're at the bottom of the market, but it's an opportunity time where you can go in, you can negotiate. Don't be scared to negotiate, right? And you got to know who you're dealing with, like your agent that you're working with. You got to look at the listing. When did those people buy it? How long has it been on the market? Look at the history and see, can they sell it to you for a deal or for your price? Or if you look at the listing and it's $600,000 and they paid $690,000 for it, well, it's probably going to be hard to negotiate a lot off that listing. So it matters with the listing you're looking at too. But yeah, definitely now, I always say summer and winter, best times to negotiate a deal in a house. Less inventory, but if there's a house that you want, by all means, go after it and negotiate. But again, prices, I tell all my buyers, is prices will continue to go down next December. That house that you buy this December is most likely going to be worth less. I forecast it will be, but nothing's guaranteed, especially with the way the government operates and prints money these days.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's been a lot of increasing in deficit spending that's going to happen. And who knows, there could even be a 40-year mortgage coming down the road. They're talking about a 50-year mortgage in the United States. So what do you think of that? Like, what do you think of 40-year, 50-year mortgages? Do you think this will be a good thing long-term for the housing market, or is this just more fucking can kicking from the government?
Yeah, so I heard about the 50-year mortgage proposal in the U.S. I don't know. I didn't follow up on it, but I do know, I have watched and I have heard, and I've been watching, paying attention to the U.S. The U.S. market's starting to decline. The house prices starting to decline a lot of places now. They'll blame Canada a lot of places down south in Florida and stuff. And I do know a lot of people, older people that sold in Florida because they're mad at the whole situation and they want out. But regardless, it's the property taxes, the cost of living, everything, right, is forcing people to sell these homes. So we are seeing U.S. And that's another thing that's going to affect Canada. If you think that the U.S. house prices are going to decline and Canada is going to be just, everything's going to be rosy up here, it's not going to happen. Like, this is just more pressure on the Canadian housing market when the U.S. starts to slide. And they've actually reached new highs after we did. So their cycle's a little bit different than ours because their economy was a little more resilient. Canada was built on real estate Ponzi's and whatnot, and the U.S. has a lot more intricate trade system and economy. But yeah, the 50-year mortgage proposal is just a sign of the times. It's just a way to try to prop up that declining housing market. And they'll do whatever they can over there. But it's a terrible idea. The average first-time buyer now is well into their 30s. It's almost pushing 40 in Canada, but let's just call it 35. So you're not going to be able to pay that mortgage off in your working life. Even in your life, you'll probably be dead by the time you pay that mortgage off. And yeah. and it's like the whole mortgage and, life and the system is now it's just this big Ponzi. So most people don't actually get a 25-year mortgage and pay it off. They go 5 or 10 years and they refinance, and because they have a car or a truck, they have to roll into it. So your mortgage, nowadays, and I don't have the stat in front of me, but you can look it up. Canadian seniors are one of the biggest population that are taking out new mortgages or have mortgages now. It's crazy. Whereas before they paid off their mortgage and they were retired and they lived a happy life, but that's not the case anymore. So yeah, 50-year mortgages, it's now that just almost blurs the line between renting and owning. You don't actually own if you have a 50-year mortgage. The amount of interest you pay is astronomical. And again, then it's after 10, 15 years that changes. 10, 15 years, after you have to refinance because they just keep proposing more things to you, and you have to retrofit, you have to renovate your house, and it's insanity. You should be paying, I tell everyone, and again, we're not talking about taking the equity from your house and investing it and maximizing your returns. That's a whole investment strategy. This is a new thing. This wasn't around 10 years ago. People didn't think like that. Pay it off as quick as you can. That's what I tell everybody. Don't just rent your house from the bank. Pay off your mortgage as quick as you can. They should be actually reducing the mortgage amortizations, which would actually bring house prices down too. But that's what they should be doing, not increasing them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And there's a degree of risk there there as well in Canada because the mortgage, you have to renew it like every 5 years for most people. So what's your average interest rate going to be over 30 years? That's what people need to bear in mind. Not what is the interest rate that you're getting for the next 5 years. Is like, where do you think inflation is going? Do you think it's going to be low? Then you can say, well, I think the average rate is going to be low. But if you think inflation is going to be high, you're probably going to be paying higher interest rates as well. And then something, you're going to laugh at this, but I just thought it's a sign of the times. One of the fastest growing companies in Canada for 5 years straight, John, is a reverse mortgage company, home equity bank.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
I think this is like a thing that's going to become more of a problem, don't you? Like more and more people are going to come to retirement with full pensions, and then basically they're going to be reliant on their home equity. So like we just discussed, they're going to be in debt forever, essentially, even if they're not paying a payment. Like their kids are not going to inherit, like that money is gone, their equity.
Yeah. So yeah, the reverse mortgage has been around for a while, but I didn't know that it was one of the biggest or fastest growing companies.
5 years.
But it's the problem is the cost of living for our seniors and the cost of retiring. Like they can't afford it anymore, so they have no choice but to do the reverse mortgages. Before it was just like the odd person. Now it's becoming more common, and I think that adds to that statistic of the retirees are the fastest growing new mortgage holders in Canada, because probably the reverse mortgages. I just want to actually go back to that 50-year mortgage thing you brought up. Canada used to have 40-year mortgages in like 2007 under the Harper government, and then they rolled them back after because they knew, I don't know exactly what happened, but obviously it wasn't a good idea. So yeah, we actually had 40-year mortgages at one point.
Yeah, I actually remember that. I know a little bit about it because I did some research into it once, and it's actually quite funny because, again, like no bank is going to write a 40-year mortgage, so they want guarantees. So of course, like the government was insuring these mortgages. Like they wouldn't have existed without the CMHC insuring them. And it's just like CMHC actually insures a lot of loans, even ones that are uninsured. Like a lot of people who have uninsured mortgages, the banks just go ahead and pay CMHC anyway for the premium because they're like, this is ridiculous. I'm getting taxpayer subsidized insurance here. I mean, it's a fucking joke. It makes me really mad talking about this stuff. So we better change the topic.
Well, I think the good thing is like CMHC insured mortgages are actually lower this year than like many other years, so that's a good thing. So, but that's probably going to change, right? They need to change.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And are there any Christmas deals out there in the housing market? Any late Black Friday deals?
Oh, yeah. Any one of my listings, please come buy them. It's so weird. Like so. Again, I talk about seasonality because it matters so much in real estate, but for the last 3 years, it keeps getting worse. The seasons, like now it's like so slow in December and even late November. It was super slow. I have like listings, and my sellers might be watching, but like I list a property and it's like listed right for the market, even below any recent sales, and no one's looking at it. Like not a call, not a showing, and it's like scary. I have another one. We've dropped this thing, like we keep dropping it, and people are still coming in with like verbal lowball. They won't even write the offer. They're just like lowballing it verbally because they don't even want to waste the time. And this is like if it sells at like even close, even what the seller's willing to, it's like the best deal in like the given town, like in like years. And it's still sitting there though, the house, and it's like crazy. So yeah, we're seeing that big shift, and you always have to compare year over year, right? So we're going to compare last November, and if you look at the Toronto Real Estate Board stats, they just came out and people are slapping them all over X and Twitter or whatever, and it's like people are just like, everything is down year over year, like everything. So, and we've seen this, so it's a trend. So like if anyone wants to argue, like the trend is down, sales are down, prices are down, inventory is probably up. Actually, inventory I think was down, but the sales are down even further, so it's down. So yeah, there's no disputing how the market's going at this point. Even Calgary, Calgary's cracking right now. I track Calgary, so when I track it, I do the monthly stats on Calgary, and I look at the sales to new listings ratio, which is like the performance of the market, the overall health of the market, and it's come down every month. It's been down year over year. So for the last 3 years. So it looks like it peaked in 2023 Calgary. Prices still increased up until this year. They were hitting new highs, I think, in the spring. But now those year over year, it's been like 3 or 4 months in a row, year over year prices have declined right now. And so you're getting year over year price declines in Calgary. So the Calgary market is now being affected. So Calgary is a secondary market, and then all these other places are tertiary markets like Saskatchewan and, but like places like Calgary, I think in Quebec, Quebec. I don't know what to say about Quebec. Like, the Quebec's still making new highs.
Well, I actually did some research on that to try and figure it out, but you might know this, you might not, but Quebec is making new highs a lot of the cities like Montreal in rents. Rents have been going up a lot. So I don't know if that's just where the investors have gone to right now and they're just there. And also, like, unemployment isn't as high in Quebec. I don't know how it's being kept down, but I mean, eventually it's going to start to feel the full force of what's happening everywhere else in the economy. It just seems to be like lagging. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Quebec gets, I don't know a lot about Quebec, but, and I always ask in my videos, like, let me know, tell me what's going on. And people do leave comments, but Quebec gets a lot of money from the government, right? Like, I looked at the stats on the prime ministers and the amount of time they spent in office and where they're from, where their home riding was. And it's like over 40%. I think it was like 45% of prime ministers from the inception of Canada are from Quebec ridings. So like the Laurentian elites is like a real thing. Like, they get a lot of money. Their housing accelerator fund. So there was, what was there? $4 billion. I can't even remember the number because there's been so many numbers, but yeah, there was $4 billion in the first phase of it. And then they topped it up a little bit. They got 900 million, but there was everywhere else got right to the cities, right? So they're like, Toronto, here's this, because they know the provinces, they have to bypass the provinces, the Canadian government, because the provinces are going to say, well, we got this green zone and that zone, and provinces really dictate land usage, right? So cities dictate within their own municipalities, as long as it's within the urban boundaries. And this is why they said, look, we can't get you to take, farmland that's not being used to build homes because the province isn't going to allow it. So we're going to just get you to make secondary suites in people's backyards. And this is why they went to all these cities. Like, Calgary is a perfect example. And then Calgary's rolling it back now because it's backfiring on them, because people are building these monstrosities and the neighbors are getting pissed. Only Quebec, they didn't have to go to the cities. Quebec, they just gave them a lump sum and said, do what you want with it. So, and the cost per unit I looked at if you look at like my old videos, I have it was like $35,000 per unit they said they're going to build so many units, which they're not, these other cities. And they give them, however many millions, hundreds of millions. And it was like 35,000, 38,000 per unit on average, because, the infrastructure is different prices in different parts of the country. Quebec, they got like 350,000 per unit. And Quebec said, well, we're going to match it ourselves. So they literally got more than anyone per unit, like 10 times, 9 or 10 times more. And yeah, this is what's happening. The government subsidizes Quebec. And you always hear about the Calgarians. And I don't know, the equalization payments. I don't know anything about that. I know that there are equalization payments, but they're always complaining that Quebec gets it and Quebec blocks everything, which, again, I'm not going to get into it. I know nothing about it. I do know that we should have our Canadian oil going to the East Coast instead of, because they're 100% the East Coast, which I thought it was just like partial. 100% of their oil is foreign. It's from the States. It's from all these other countries. And we got all the oil in the world in Canada. And so, and it's because of places like Quebec that they're like, no, we don't want you going through our mountains and whatever. So, or through our Arctic tundra up by the Hudson Bay, wherever, right? Like, just put the freaking pipeline in and ship the oil. They're using the oil. It's like they're using oil. Like, it's not going to change.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous what is going on there. And then what do you think about like new home sales? Because my God, like places like Toronto and Vancouver, collapse is an understatement of what's going on. Like, it is just dead. Even I always play this clip of this guy who's like, the condo market is totally dead. But really, when you look at new home sales, like, I think think it was 30 or something that sold in Toronto. What do you think of that? And there's so many jobs also that rely on that. And what's going on in like your area as well? Because obviously you probably had a lot of the people that were moving out, work from home bullshit during the pandemic that went out Stony Creek, Hamilton, as far as Niagara Falls as well. And then they all started building up all these developments and everything. Have those people just completely vanished now?
So what I've noticed in my area is a lot of the students are vanishing. Like even on my street, there was a student rental and there's like all these cars there and those delivery vans. There's like nothing there now. There's like one car in the driveway, not hardly any students standing at the bus stops. So we had a lot of that student influence, but yeah, there was people that came. I have one of my followers that moved, rented a house just behind me and they were going to buy a house here, but now he has to go back to work. He's back one day. I think he's going to have to go back more. So when he does decide to buy, he's going to be buying in Mississauga or somewhere. He's not going to buy in Niagara because the commute's going to kill him. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of that shift too. But when it comes to new home sales are few and far between or non-existent and the construction, because nobody can afford to buy them. Like the land cost, even in Niagara, it's like our development fees aren't astronomical. They're still too high, pushing $40,000. And then you got the HST. And the HST, mind you, let me just talk about that for a second. The HST from the government is BS. They're giving the HST rebate or GST or whatever their portion of it is to first-time buyers. And so they push this. I heard them in question period the other day, and they're like, you voted no. They're telling the Conservatives. You know how many people are going to get that HST rebate? Like first-time buyers buying brand new homes? Like nobody. There's no first-time buyers that can afford a brand new home. Like so they know they're bragging about doing this, but why don't they give it to everybody? Why don't they give the GST rebate or exemption to everyone on new homes? Because they know it's going to cost them too much money, but they say we're going to give it to first-time buyers. Well, I've never sold a new house to a first-time buyer. Now, I don't sell that many new homes, but I'm telling you, I've never heard of many people selling homes to first-time buyers, new homes to first-time buyers, so that's BS. When it comes to home construction, they're still building stacked towns. Like nobody wants them. We're in the market right now. I was just saying this to somebody else. In Niagara, we had, so many agents from out of town, GTA, Toronto agents coming in, during this run up. And then even 2023, 2024, I have not seen a GTA agent request a showing, submit an offer, anything. They're non-existent. Every agent I'm dealing with now is a local agent. So, which is a good thing. We've reverted kind of back to this pre-pandemic, pre-run up thing. And we're not seeing these out-of-towners come into Niagara and drive up our prices. Well, it cost them $1.2 million in wherever. Let's pay $900 for it here. So that's another thing that I've noticed in the market too. Is it's the boundaries have kind of been reclaimed by the local agents because again, there's no buyers. That's just probably why they're not coming. Also, they just don't have buyers.
If you've enjoyed this video, please check out this video here. And if you're looking for a VPN and also want to help support the channel, get the best VPN. Check out the link in the description below, expressvpn.com/marketmania. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.